Hello, thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! In Melbourne in Australia. And hopefully we will not have any technical issues today. My sound and everything should be superty duper because the way that we got that fixed is I got a new computer. So hopefully that solves all our issues. Now, you may have seen on my Facebook page that I went to Claire Daly's 35 for 35 Stampin' Up! Event last weekend. I think it was last weekend. Sorry, my brain's gone fat. Yes. And she had a whole lot of displays, mostly with fun folds because we all love fun folds. And this was one that was made by Michelle Taylor. So I took pictures of the card. It didn't have any instructions. Came home and got my husband to sit and figure out how it worked. And it looks nice from the outside, but watch the inside. Wow. See? The little astronaut pops up and he can stand up and walk on the moon. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so let's look at the products that I'm using first, and then I'll show you how I made that. So I'm using Reach for the Stars suite. We've got the stamp set and the Reach for the Stars dies. Now the nice thing with this dies is it has a whole lot of different size circles. So you can use those as circles to cut out the planets on the DSP. And then it's got where you can cut out rings so you can make your planets look like Saturn. And obviously the astronaut and the rocket ship that coordinate with the stamp set. Now the designer series paper is beautiful here. Okay, so it's got all of these really rich, lovely colors in it. The last two pieces here are the ones with the planets. So those are the ones that you can cut out your planets, and like I said, those dies do coordinate, that you can cut them out. Don't try to cut them out freehand. You'll never get your circle edges beautiful. And then the reverse side of the paper is like that. So I have to say that these two are ones with the planets, and although the reverse sides are nice, you don't feel too terrible if you don't use them and rather use the planet side. Alright, so let me show you how we get the pop-up mechanism working. Alright, now I've got a little piece of cardstock which is 2.5 centimeters by 12.5 centimeters, and if you're working in inches, that's going to be 1 inch by 5 inches. Now we need to do some measuring, and it's pretty simple. So I just need to move my mouse out the way here. So on the top, I'm marking it at 2.5 centimeters, okay, which would be 1 inch. And then along the bottom, I'm marking at 5 centimeters and 7.5 centimeters. Okay, so if we're working in inches, that's going to be 2 inches and 3 inches. Easy as that. Now I need my trimmer so that we can do some scoring. And it looks like I'm doing it a little bit back to front, but trust me, this is the way that works for me. If you find it easier to do it differently, you go ahead. So the first one I'm going to do is from that end, so the right hand end, I'm going to score at 2.5 centimeters. That would be your 1 inch. And now it doesn't matter which direction we go, we're doing the same scoring. So I'm scoring from my corner to that first mark. And I'm hoping that because I'm using the lighter paper here, you can actually see what's going on. Then we're scoring from the top mark to that one. And I don't know whether it's terribly important, but what I try and do is when I'm scoring this one is line up my score mark so that when I say my score mark, that first one that I did, so that's straight. And then we're going to score from that one to that one. So we're making a triangle. Now I'm going to score from that third mark to that score line that we did in the end. Just trying to see where my score lines are. Alright, so we've scored, we've got a triangle in the corner, we've got a triangle here. This is an almost funny shaped triangle, it doesn't go down to the point. And then we've got another triangle there and a square at the end. Okay, now we have to fold this, and trust me, it took, if anybody knows Wolfgang, you know that he's a bit of an overachiever. So he sat the whole day working this out for me. All right, so our first one, we're folding that down. The second one, we're folding down so that we make a little triangle over there. Okay, now I'm going to flip that over. So that one's folding, that it's going up, and then this is folding down. Okay, so at the end of it, we have this really weird shape, but trust me, this is what's going to work for our mechanism. So put that aside for the moment, and let's get working on my card. This time I just decided to go with the lighter cardstock because when I cut my piece of DSP, I'm using the middle piece and it has those lighter shades in it. So I thought that that would work better. Okay, Annette knows Wolfgang, so she knows that he's very good, but, oh, and he overcomplicated everything. It just looks like I've cut this DSP slightly too big, or I've cut my card base too small, so I'm just going to cut it down fractionally. And he overcomplicated it that I had to then go, okay, no, hang on a second, we need to change this and make it a bit simpler. But hey, I'm very happy with his final result. He did an awesome job. It's not quite the same as what Michelle Taylor had. Here we go with the glue again. But hey, it works and it's awesome, and you can spend the whole day just opening and closing the card because that pop-up is so good. Okay, I'm just going to use the bottom of the glue because if it's not my dimensionals that are hiding, it's the glue that doesn't want to come out. Okay, so we're going to pop that on there. Now what I've done is I've stamped my astronaut, and I don't know whether it's necessary or not, but I actually put some of the Fresh Freesia cardstock on the back. Okay, and then I've also stamped and cut out my rocket. Now when we put this this mechanism in, the first thing that I want to do is set in my insert. And I know that everybody who knows me is going, what are you doing? You haven't decorated your insert. I know this is doing my head in, but there is a reason for that, and I will show you what it is. I'm trying to do this with the bottom end of the glue. It does come out. So did you know that you can take off that cap at the bottom and you do have an applicator there? It doesn't come out as fine as, okay, I definitely cut this wrong, so let's just cut that down a bit as well. I don't know how I did that. I must have been thinking about how my mechanism was working when I cut this, because I didn't cut my, I think I cut my card base too small, but that's all right. We'll just make it work. All right, now we're going to take, so I've taken, you caught me, I picked up the wrong piece. That was my sample, just in case I did anything wrong. Okay, we're folding that up, and then I'm going to put glue on, and hopefully, let's just see if I can get any glue coming out here. I have a million glues, and none of them want to. Okay, giving up. I just don't want to mess. Alright, so we're putting glue on that little triangle over there. And when I'm lining this up, I'm lining it up so that this is sort of sitting like it's going down the page, and my edge is going next to the fold, and you can put that as high or as low. I'm going to get it like roughly in line with the insert over there. Okay, so we want that straight across the top, and then I'm going to put glue on this, so the glue's going on the same side of the cardstock on both pieces, and it's along that first little triangle and along your little end square. And we're going to just stick that down over there. Okay, so I'll just give that glue a second to sit, and then when the card closes, it's going to fold along that score line and close. Okay, so you can see now that's our mechanism that's popping up over there. Just make sure that that's sticking down nicely. Now here's why we didn't decorate the card, because I want my moon over here to go over that so that it's hiding. Now this is one of the ones that I've cut out from the side of the designer series paper, so there's sort of quite a few half planets. Don't throw those away. This one I'm just going to cut down a little bit so that we're going to get it fitting in here. It needs a bit more of a cut. And I've got glue over everything. Okay. And this is why I actually prefer to stick these things on before, because then you can trim the edges at the top. But this time obviously it wasn't going to work because I need to have stuck that down so that I can cover it up with my moon, and I can't stick it until the insert's stuck in the card, so it just wasn't going to work for me today. But we're going to pop that down. It's covering my mechanism, and I've got one of these little moons that's from the DSP again, and this time I could cut it off so that it's got a straight edge against the side of the paper, but we're going to just use it and position it that we're seeing the whole circle. There we go. Okay, and now if you wanted to, you could position your mechanism lower, but if you're going to do that, just make sure that when it's closed, your astronaut's not going to poke out the bottom. So we're going to stick him on here. Before we do that, I want another little moon on there. I probably could have stuck that one on before we before I stuck that in, but again, that's okay. So I'm going to use this one. And again, I need to cut it down a bit. That one would have been easier to stick before I put it in, but I was so focused on showing you the mechanism and making sure that I got that right that I didn't actually think about the decoration until we'd done all of that. Okay, so isn't it amazing that when you need to, you just make a plan and make things work. Alright, so there, oops, move it a little bit over so that it's not poking over the edges. That'll work for us. And then I'm just putting some glue on the bottom of his foot over here and on this leg. Okay, so just be careful. You don't want to go too much over. You just want what's actually going to stick to your pop-up mechanism over here. Let's let him set. Okay. Let's just put him aside that glue can set for the moment, and I'll work on my rocket ship. Now, for the flames, which again, these are dies, you could cut into one of your planets. It's got nice flamey colors, but I didn't want to do that. So I had a scrap of the Inked and Tile DSP, botanically inked. Sorry, botanically inked. And for me, these colors work perfectly for flames. You're cutting such a little bit, so I've just cut those out of what is a floral piece, but doesn't look florally here. And all that we're going to do is stick the two flames together. We wanted this rocket ship having lots of power as it was lifting up. So, oops, maybe you want to see what my card looked like. Alright, so we're going to just stick those two flames together. And then I'm going to stick them onto the bottom of the rocket. Okay, I guess one problem with using the bottom of the glue is it is getting very gluey. Okay, I'll clean that off later. Let's let that dry. Now, okay. I thought that I had one of the light colored planets, but it looks like I don't. Okay, that's okay. We're going to stamp our sentiment, and I'm going to stamp it onto the pink one, which is actually, I think that the two that I've cut out here are bigger than the ones that I used there, but that doesn't matter. So stamping directly onto the DSP. We're going, and I love stamping on circles because it doesn't matter how crooked you stamp it. You can always just turn it and stamp it straight. Now the only thing that I did do is I rocked the stamp. Be careful with the stamp. I just find that it is really easy to rock the sentiment and get a smudge, but because we've done this one bigger, it doesn't matter. I will sort it out. I'll hide that somehow when I'm done. Maybe I'll put a few little stars over it. Alright, so we're going to stick down that one. I know where my dimensionals are today. Doing well. Can never win. If it's not the dimensionals hiding away, it's the liquid glue that doesn't want to come out. I don't know what it is that my adhesives always seem to hate me. So all that we need to do is make sure that my writing is actually the right way up. In actual fact, that looks better. You should have a bigger planet in front because it's closer to you. Okay, so dimensionals behind the rocket. I may just put an extra one behind the flames. And we'll stick that over there. Okay, so the front is really easy. All your stamping is the rocket and the sentiment, and then the rest is all the DSP doing the work for you. But it's your inside where he's popping up and saying hello. So like I said, it looks complicated. It's not really that complicated. Hopefully I've made those instructions really clear so that you can follow them and just make your mechanism. As long as you get it to that sort of funny little shape, then it'll work. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Give it a try. If you make the cards, post them that I can see what you've done. And of course it works beautifully in my head with the astronaut, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, typical. Here we go. I just found the other piece, the other planet that I'd cut out to do the stamping on. But oh well, it doesn't matter. We're done now. Alright, so I hope that you've enjoyed this. And I will see you again next Sunday. Same time, same place. Have a good week. Until then, bye.